We're back, episode number 24.
Yes, sir.
The Dylan Brooks episode.
The Dylan Brooks episode. Shut up.
No. The Kobe episode, as Justin said. But, I mean, how you guys doing?
Doing good.
How was the first week of the playoffs been for you guys?
Well, for me, it's been terrible.
For me, it's been pretty much as expected.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. It's, as a Nuggets fan, I like where they're at. But hey, we'll get into all of these things later because that's basically going to be our entire show is the playoffs. But before we get into any kind of basketball related things, I guess, there were some unfortunate acts that happened during some of these games throughout the week, specifically on Wednesday. There was 3 games, a game between the Sixers and Wizards, a Knicks Hawks, and the Jazz Grizzlies. And we saw a bunch of fans acting out, being idiots. First, we saw Russell Westbrook as he was leaving the game with an apparent ankle injury. As he was entering the tunnel, a fan decided it was a good idea to pour popcorn on him as he was leaving. And obviously, he was very frustrated. You could see that. He was restrained by like 6 people. I mean, if he had broken loose, that guy would have been a goner. And then later that night, a Knicks fan was caught on camera spitting on Trae Young, the Atlanta Hawks guard, Trae Young, as he was inbounding the ball. I mean, what the hell? What are you even thinking there? And then lastly, it was reported that 3 Utah Jazz fans during Game 2 of that series between the Jazz and the Grizzlies were making vulgar and racist comments to Ja Morant's parents. Ja Morant, obviously the point guard for the Grizzlies. All of these fans have been banned indefinitely from those arenas. But do you guys, I mean, what were your guys' reactions to these incidents? And do you think an indefinite ban is enough of a punishment?
I think they should get permanently banned, honestly.
Yeah.
Just to make them an example of like what would happen if you do start messing with players, you're going to get permanently banned because that sort of stuff just isn't acceptable. And yeah, it's just bad look for, all the other fans that are just sitting around actually just wanting to watch the game and have like a good time. And so, yeah, I think that those fans should get permanently banned and made as an example of like what happens if you're a poor fan in the stands.
I completely agree. We went we went over a whole year without any fans. And then they let us get fans for the playoffs. And then this is what we do. Like, I was really disappointed just as a fan of the NBA. Like, why? Like, that's never happened before, or at least, not all this in one night. The thing with Russ, I think it was especially disrespectful because he was leaving with an injury. Like, at that point, they're losing. He's already pissed because of that. He's pissed because he just got hurt. And then you're going to go and do that? Like, you should expect him to, want to get in the stands and fight you. But the thing that really was the worst thing, in my opinion. Actually, no, not even the worst. They were all, this thing with Trae and the thing with Ja were equally bad. But during COVID, a man is going to spit on a player. Like, I think that fan, especially being courtside at an MSG game, I think that fan should get a fine.
I think they asked Trae Young if they wanted to press charges against the fan.
Wow, I would if I was Trae Young.
I don't think Trae Young did. I think he said it's not anything. But I mean, regardless whether COVID or not, like spitting on someone
Oh
is like
yeah,
just the most disrespectful thing, honestly, because that like what I don't know
Like
what
for what? Like just because he's better at basketball than like your team? Like I don't.
it's just ridiculous. I don't know what people are thinking, and these are like grown ass people. Like, do you not have any kind of civility? It's just ridiculous. I don't know. Like you said, Justin,
Yeah.
we finally are allowed to go back to these games and enjoy them, and this is what happens in the first week. It's just like, come on, guys, what are we doing? And it just makes everyone, all the fans, it just makes everyone look bad. It really does.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now this thing with Ja and his parents, you know, racism and Black Lives Matter has been a focal point by the NBA and every single player basically since forever, but especially since George Floyd got killed. Like that, there needs to be something bigger, a bigger punishment for that, because I can only imagine what those fans were saying. And just, if I were Ja's parents, I would find a way to just have them more than banned. I think they should be banned from all NBA games. They shouldn't ever allowed to be in any arena ever again.
Yeah, I was listening to another show, and Chris Vernon, who's like he kind of works for the Grizzlies, he works covering them, and he said he's obviously gotten to know John Morant and his family, and he was talking about how his dad is like one of the most like loving people in the entire world. Like, I mean, like you said, it's bad regardless. Like racism is just like, I don't know why you would ever say that to anyone, but like he was saying, like, of all the people you could have said this to, why did it have to be this guy? Because he's like the most charismatic, like loving guy. And like I don't know. Everyone's like, he's so funny. And the fact that it happened to him, he just broke his heart, he said, because he's just such a great person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a shame. Yeah, but
I just hope this was an outcome of just fans eager to wanting to come back to like the stadiums, as opposed to like a trend that we start to see as the playoffs get deeper and deeper.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I would hope that people see this, like other fans that are gonna attend games see this and be like, we can't act like this. I mean, I think for the most part, a lot of fans are kind of in agreement that what these people did is terrible. But I hope we don't see anything like that for the rest of the playoffs and really just the rest of time, because
Yeah.
it's just sad.
It really seems like people are getting a little too comfortable just being able to comment whatever they want on the internet, thinking that they can get away with it in real life.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Yeah, well, I guess now we can kind of transition into more of what happened with the games, And the first being, I think the first thing we should address is the first team that advanced to the second round, that being the Milwaukee Bucks. So after losing to the Miami Heat in 5 games last year in the bubble, they got revenge and they swept the Heat in their first round matchup. But that being said, the Bucks did get some pretty bad news on Friday afternoon, as it was reported that Dante DiVincenzo, who's their starting shooting guard, would miss the remainder of the playoffs after suffering a torn ligament in his left ankle. So the Bucks, they looked a lot better against the Heat, obviously, this year compared to last year. But how does losing DiVincenzo impact their title hopes?
In my opinion, and it hurts. It definitely hurts. But I think they have guys who can take his spot and, do what he was doing. I looked it up for that series. I think it was the series. It was either the series or the season. I don't know. But Dante DiVincenzo was only averaging like 10.3 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists, basically. They have 2 other guards who are averaging more than him. Bryn Forbes, this series, Bryn Forbes averaged 15 points per game. He played out of his mind. If he can keep that up, he can keep that starting position, even when Dante DiVincenzo comes back. But there's Bryn Forbes, Pat Connaughton, and the OG Jeff Teague. They're all very valuable players to that team, and they can fill that spot, I think.
Well, I'm kind of a little more pessimistic about this one. I was already a little skeptical about the Bucks, making a finals run this year in general, but this definitely hurts them. And I feel like for the Bucks to be successful, they're going to need as many of these shooter type role players like as possible. And he was one of their best. And maybe he didn't have the best series against the Miami Heat, but knowing what this guy is capable of doing like in the regular season, without a doubt, he would be like a key player that they would have wanted to not get hurt, obviously. But like I said, I don't like their chances making the finals. I
wonder why that is.
And I'm not just saying just because of the Nets. Even if they beat the Nets, I still like the Sixers over the Bucks. And like I said, I think it's just going to be the same old story. Like, obviously they've gotten better. Obviously they're a better team than they have been. But to beat the Nets and then, beat the Sixers, I just don't think that, especially without DiVincenzo, I don't think that's I think that's a really hard task. But who knows?
I saw an interesting stat about the Bucks. They are just the third team in NBA history to sweep an opponent that they lost to in the previous postseason and outscore them by at least 60 points. And they outscored the Heat by 82 points in this series. The other two teams being the 2004 Indiana Pacers and the 1996 Chicago Bulls. So, I mean, the Pacers that season, they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Pistons, who went on to win the championship. And then obviously that Bulls team was like arguably the best team of all time, 72-10, won the finals. But yeah, I mean, DiVincenzo, it sucks because everyone loves to focus on the defense that is being played by Drew Holiday and Giannis, but he's really like kind of a glue guy for them. That in between, like you can kind of compare his impact to like what Alex Caruso does for the Lakers or like KCP does for the Lakers. Like he's not like a big threat offensively, especially when he can't make his threes. And like you said, Toby, like he didn't have the best series against the Heat. He only shot 2 of 12 from 3 in those games against Miami. But he can hold his own against some of the best guards. And it really sucks if they do have to play the Nets because he would have been a nice person to have trying to, defend Kyrie or James Harden or whoever else it is, and have Drew Holiday defend, the other guard. I think they would have. It certainly hurts a lot. And like you said, Justin, like they have some capable backup guards, but I don't know. His impact is going to be tough to replace.
Yeah, I agree. His defensive impact will definitely be hard to replace. He's low key, like he's a feisty defender. He's not gonna lock you and keep you from going to the basket, but he's gonna be poking and trying to get balls loose and everything like that. So yeah, I don't think the other three guys that I mentioned will be able to do that, but they'll be able to pick up the pace offensively, I think.
He's also a really good rebounder for someone his size.
Yeah,
which I
he is.
noticed. Like I don't know why, but he just is a really good rebounder for someone that's only like 6'4". So that's probably gonna hurt them too. But
He's got that clutch gene too back in Villanova when he carried them.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, Giannis is averaging almost 18 rebounds a game, or did that series. So
Yeah,
Giannis might be good enough for the rebounds.
just get every rebound. All of them, to be honest. But yeah. In terms of their title hopes, though, I don't know. We'll see. I've been talking up the Bucks all season. I like them, man. I really do. I really like the Bucks.
I don't
this
know.
year.
That's
I really like the Bucks. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. They look different.
I
They
will
look
tell
a
you
lot
how I
different.
feel about the Bucks at the end because I have a whole thing about them at the end.
All right. That's fair. That's fair. But I guess now kind of moving on to another series that's been very intriguing. That being the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, in this series, if we're being honest, the two best players in the postseason might be playing in this series alone, because Luka and Kawhi. And no. You look confused, Justin. But I think
Yeah.
it's facts. I think it's facts.
I mean,
Kawhi and
you're forgetting about one pretty good guy on your team over there, Jorie.
I mean, yeah, I factored that in. Jokic has been incredible, but I'll explain.
All right, yeah.
But
Let me hear it.
but I mean, it's funny because after losing their final two regular season games to the Houston Rockets and the Thunder to avoid a first round series with the Lakers, the Clippers then dropped their first two games at home against the Mavericks. But they did get game 3, and game 4 is tonight. It's Sunday, so yeah, that's later tonight. So we'll see if they can even up the series or if they go down 3-1. That'll be interesting to see. But do you guys think the Clippers can bounce back in this series? And if not, what is the likelihood that the Mavericks could reach the Western Conference Finals?
I want to hear what Toby has to say.
I think that not only do I think they can come back, I think they will come back.
Okay.
And don't get me started with Luka Magic. I know how good Luka is. He's gonna get his regardless. If Kawhi's guarding him, if Paul George, whatever, he's gonna get his. But this guy Kawhi, he's emotionless. He's an emotionless. So
He really
when it comes down to like I mean, obviously we're gonna talk about last year, talk about the bubble. The bubble was pretty fluky. I'm not gonna lie. We saw a lot of things we don't usually see out of the bubble. And maybe I don't know. Maybe the playoffs caught up with them. This year with those first two losses, or maybe it was Luka who they just weren't ready for. But I think now that they won Game 3, they have a pretty good game plan of like how they want to. I mean, they started off pretty slow, Game 3, obviously, but I think they started turning it around, and picking up, playing like a team that they should be playing like as a finals contender. I expect them to continue to do that. I think they will win tonight and tie up the series, and then going back to LA, we'll see what happens.
I don't know if they will win tonight, but if they do win tonight, I guarantee this series goes 7 games. If it does go 7 games, the Clippers will win it. If it doesn't reach 7 games, it's because the Mavericks won tonight and then just, won the series in however many games they did. But if the Mavericks do win, they will face the Jazz next round, and I don't think they stand a chance against the Jazz.
The Mavericks?
Yep. I don't think they stand a chance. They might get 1 game because of just how good Luka is. I don't think they stand a chance other than that.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Luka Magic. He really might be the best player in the playoffs right now. He's averaging 38 a game, 8.7 rebounds and 9 assists, and he's shooting 46% from 3 on 12 attempts per game. Like, he is literally unguardable at this point. They tried everything. I mean, been watching these games that like nothing works against this guy. They have every player on their team trying to stop him, and he just cannot be stopped. But that being said, I mentioned Kawhi being the second best player potentially in the playoffs. I mean, he's second only to Luka in scoring this season or this postseason at 34.3 points per game. He's also averaging 8 rebounds and 4 assists and 2.3 steals, which is also second in the NBA. He is shooting, or his effective field goal percentage on pull-ups in the playoffs is 71%. Or excuse me, his catch and shoot is 71%. And his pull-ups are 62.5%. And he's shooting 70% at the rim.
Jeez.
He's averaging 34 a game, and he literally is like he's basically the most efficient player in the playoffs right now. And like defensively, I feel like it doesn't look great, but that's only because the Mavericks are just like super hot right now. Like everyone on the Mavericks seems like they're just a bucket for some reason. So like,
Except for Kristaps.
Yeah, exactly. Except for Porzingis. But I mean, like you mentioned that he's like emotionless, and game 3, they started the Clippers. That is, they looked terrible to start game 3. Kawhi just never looked rattled like at all during that run. Like they went up. I think the Mavericks had like a 30 to like 12 lead or something at one point in the first quarter, and he was just never concerned. Like never did he look like shit, we're gonna lose this game. Like he was just perfectly even keeled the entire time, which is like, I mean, he doesn't get a lot of praise for his leadership, but I feel like the fact that he's never like tilting one way or the other is honestly a pretty good thing to have. So I don't know. I want this series to go 7 games, but I also would like to see them go down 3-1 and see if they can make the 3-1 comeback after last season blowing a 3-1 lead. I think that would be fun, but I don't know. I would like to see this series go 7 games and see what a game 7 Luka versus Kawhi matchup would look like.
Ooh, yeah.
That would be fun.
I don't know if all right. I will say this though. If the Mavericks do win tonight, then I think the series is over. I don't see them coming back from a 3-1 deficit.
Yeah.
What do you guys think would happen if the Clippers do lose this series? I mean, is Kawhi has the potential to leave because he has a player option, I believe, this the offseason, so he could just not pick it up and leave. Do you see that happening if they lose? Like, could you see Kawhi leaving the Clippers or potentially maybe trading Paul George or something?
I think me and you talked about this, Jorie, on the last episode. I think it was last episode. And I'm pretty sure I said if I was Kawhi, I would leave. But now that I think about it, as long as they can have Paul George, as long as they keep him around, I think I would stay if I was Kawhi. One, because it's in LA. Like, obviously I'm staying in LA. But it's really just a matter of fact of, rounding out the rough edges. All they got to do is like get rid of just the pieces and get those guys that are gonna get them to win, because they have the core, they have Kawhi and Paul George, but they're the role players and stuff are some they're questionable guys. Rondo is gonna do his job, but it's not, that job isn't scoring. Same with Pat Beverly. And then other than that, like it's just a hit or miss night for whoever else they have.
Yeah, I don't see Kawhi leaving. I do see the Clippers. At least I think that they should make some moves for some other guys. Kind of like Justin said, they can go deep with this team that they have right now, but I think that if they want to sustain long playoff runs, they're going to have to get a deeper squad. More specifically, guys who can get buckets, I feel like off the bench or so like that. But yeah, also, I think Kawhi, I'm pretty sure he grew up in LA, so I can't really see him like going to New York or moving to Texas. I feel like even if they lose year after year, he already won 2, and he doesn't really have to prove anything to anybody. So I think he's just chilling right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I feel like people forget that he already has 2
I
championships.
really did forget he has 2
Yeah,
championships.
like 2 finals MVPs. Like he doesn't. I feel like I mean he could retire right now and still probably be a Hall of Famer. But yeah, you make a good point though about it's funny everyone views like I mean I don't think a lot of people view Kawhi as like a bucket getter for whatever reason, even though he kind of is. Like you give him the ball, like he's gonna score. Like I mean he's shown that in this series, and same thing with like Paul George. He's been a lot better in this playoffs than last year's playoffs. But in terms of like their guards, they really don't have anyone that's like a bucket at that position. Like you don't think Patrick Beverly's not doing anything offensively really.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson is like iffy. He's not. He's really not. What he used to be. I think when he was like on the Pistons or anything like
Yeah.
that. And obviously Rondo isn't gonna. He's not. He's way out of his prime. He's not like that anymore. So I feel like that's a position they need to upgrade if they were to make some moves. Try and get a player that could. I mean, I saw that Colin Sexton was available
Oh,
for
yeah.
a trade. I don't know how they would pull that off, but if they somehow got Colin Sexton and they were starting him, oh my gosh. That
Well,
would be
how
nice.
would that work out? Because there were a lot of reports about Cavs players being unhappy with how Colin Sexton was running the offense, and he was being a bit of a ball
I mean,
hog.
I feel like if he were to go to Los Angeles, I feel like he would obviously not be the top option, and he would kind of just do what he needs to do.
Do you think that he can do that though? Because there are some players who are, like, I'm not changing my style of play for, somebody else. You have to work around my style of play.
I don't think he's one of those players. If I'm
don't think so?
just keeping it real, nah, I don't. At least in this point in his career, I like him, but I just don't see him being like one of those crazy once in a life, like once, you know what I'm talking, you know what I'm saying? Like
What, like how Melo was being when he was in Oklahoma?
Like he's
when
not
they
going to
were
be
like,
he's not going to be the face of a franchise. I don't think
okay,
so.
okay.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, you're right.
It's probably unrealistic. That was just something I saw earlier today. I don't think that would even happen, but who knows?
That would be crazy though.
Yeah, it would be, I think. But this series, it's really been a lot of fun to watch this series.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to watch Game 4. It's definitely gonna determine.
Probably gonna turn that on as soon as we're done the episode, if it's on.
Yeah. I wanted to mention this series because there's a lot of big things that happened today before we do our final segment. But I didn't have this in the rundown, obviously. But the Lakers Suns series got very interesting today because a lot of people kind of thought the Lakers would win today, but they ended up losing Game 4. So the series is now tied 2-2. And Anthony Davis left the game in the first half with a groin strain or a groin injury and didn't return for the second half. So the series is tied 2-2. They're going back to Phoenix, and Anthony Davis is going to be questionable for that game. So, I mean, if the Suns go up 3-2, I mean, I don't know, man. This is very intriguing now because I think a lot of people wrote off the Suns once they lost game 2 and 3, but this is very interesting now. This is a very interesting series now. So do you guys think the Lakers are gonna be a first round exit, or do you think LeBron is gonna carry them to a victory in this series?
See, I can't tell because I saw this thing on Instagram. I know I'm always talking about Instagram, but somebody on Instagram said once LeBron starts having fun in a series, it's over. You can ask the Raptors. LeBron all he's been doing is clowning Phoenix. Jay Crowder, especially, he literally goes up to him. He goes, "You stink." Like, once LeBron isn't once he's on, he's on, like not even on. He's on. So if he's on for game 4 or for game 5 or whatever it is, I think they could run away with it. Especially with Chris Paul being, not 100%.
I'll go ahead, Tobe.
Lakers are done. They're not beating the Suns. And you can save this, if they do happen to beat the Suns, but it's not going to happen. There's no way that they can beat the Suns without AD. If AD comes back next game, obviously they could still win the series. If AD's gone, they're done. Like, I don't care if LeBron drops 40-point triple doubles. I just don't see him, yeah, I don't know. I just think they're done.
I'll say this though. I think LeBron did look a lot better, like the best I think he's looked in this entire series today in Game 4, despite the fact that they lost. Like he looked very like himself, like athletic wise.
The guy was bouncing. Bouncing.
So, but at the same time, like Chris Paul, who dealt with the shoulder injury earlier in the series, he also looked a lot better this game. So if the Chris Paul is fully healthy and ready to go, and like you said, Toby, they don't have Anthony Davis, I don't know. I mean, it's entirely possible that he could play. I'm pretty sure I don't remember what injury he had, but he was saying like he was dealing with some injuries before this game, and he's like, there's no way I'm not playing. So he might just play through it and try. But I don't know. If he's not himself, the Suns really might take this series. And it's crazy that we're like, that's like such a weird thing to say because they are the 2 seed and they're technically supposed to win this series, but I don't know. This got a lot more interesting today.
Something you mentioned earlier, Jorie, outside of the podcast. DeAndre Ayton has been playing great
just
basketball.
about to say that.
So
Just about to say that.
without another big body in Anthony Davis, let alone like a defensive player of the year candidate, it's going to be very, very difficult for LeBron. If LeBron can somehow will this team past this series without AD, then it's a testament to
It's greatness.
Yeah.
Hey,
literally.
Everybody relax. You ever heard of a guy named Andre Drummond, Toby? That guy, he's actually been playing great this series. Like,
okay,
from what I've seen, him on the defensive end, especially, bro, he might have even been playing better than AD.
No, I like Drummond. I like Drummond, but
I feel like Marc Gasol is who they would go with if Anthony Davis can't play. I feel like Marc Gasol might get the starting position for Anthony Davis because the veteran presence and defensively he looks good too. I don't know. This is gonna be fun.
I'm a bit of a Marc Gasol hater, so I might disagree with you there, Jorie, but
I don't know. And then whoever wins the series, I mean, they're either going to play a hobbled Nuggets team or Portland, who is kind of inconsistent at times. So whoever wins this series has a really good shot at making the Western Conference Finals and then potentially even the NBA Finals. Because, I mean, we were just talking about it, like the Jazz it's just like there's so many teams like in the Western Conference. The Western Conference playoffs just overall is just like so up in the air right now. Like I literally have no idea who's going to be coming out of the West at this point, like at all. So we'll see. This is a good way to start the playoffs. A really entertaining first week.
Yeah.
With that being said, our last segment. So there's been multiple players and teams who have exceeded expectations on the hardwood through the first week of the playoffs. And on the flip side, there's been some players and teams that have underwhelmed during this year's postseason. So let's each pick 2 things that we've seen thus far that we've been surprised and kind of disappointed by thus far in the playoffs. And either of you guys can start.
I'll let you start, Justin.
All right, bet. I would say in the East, this is where I talk about the Bucks. I have been hating on this guy, Chris Middleton, all season. I admit it. I've been hating on him. I've been talking down, whatever you want to call it. But he's finally looking like that second guy for a championship team. This series, he's averaging 21 and a half, 6.8 rebounds, and 4.3 assists on basically 50, 40, 90 shooting. But I also think that this is in part of all the other players on the Bucks. Bryn Forbes, just kind of playing out of his mind for no reason. Like that was, totally unexpected. Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are both, Brooke Lopez is putting up 15 a game. He's playing great. But because of all of this, it's really benefited Chris Middleton. He's on a tear right now.
Yeah, I tried to tell you. He's nice.
I should have
He
listened.
did try to tell you.
I shouldn't have been sleeping.
I don't know. Yeah, he's been like this all season, man. He's been like this all season.
I don't know if he's been like that all season.
No, he has. But yeah, the Bucks have been a pleasant surprise. I don't know. I don't know if I can say that I'm surprised by the Bucks. I expected this kind of. I said, like when we made our predictions, I said they would win in 5 games against the Heat, and to my surprise, I guess they won in 4. So good for them. But
I didn't even think they were going to win the series. Actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's. I don't know, and they're gonna have a lot of rest. I think heading into their series,
Yeah.
Whether they play the Celtics or the Nets, they're gonna have some rest. They're gonna be all rested and ready to go. So
All right,
it'll be a fun series.
we're ready. We're ready.
But yeah, my standout in the West. I'll make this quick because it is quick. Jokic, Joker. The guy is insane. He's a center. He's a center putting up 31 points per game, shooting 54%, 45.5 from 3, and 90 from the free throw line without Jamal Murray. Like, he's really the only guy. And okay, no, he's not the only guy. Obviously, Michael Porter Jr. and everybody else is doing their thing. But, like, he is the main focus of the Nuggets offense, and he's giving anybody work. It doesn't matter who's on him.
Yeah,
MVP. If you could just get them assist numbers up, because I think he's only averaging like 3 assists. If you could just get those assist numbers up, he'd be having an all-time great playoff performance right now.
I think it's mainly because the Blazers' strategy going into this series is we're not going to double Jokic because he's going to burn us with his passing. And so he has single coverage, or he's being, defended by one person throughout the series. So he's just like, all right, I'm going to cook you then. If this is what you're going to let me do, I'm just going to. And that's what he's been doing. So
if I was Nurkic, I'd probably retire after this.
No, I think Nurkic has been pretty good, though. I got to say, I've watched like every game, obviously, because that's my team. Yeah. But Nurkic has been pretty solid for the Blazers. I was kind of clowning that guy because at the trade deadline when they got Norman Powell, I was saying they should get Vucevic to replace Nurkic. But I don't know. Nurkic he's been giving them problems, especially in the minutes when Jokic is on the bench, because for whatever reason, that guy gets every rebound like possible. It's really crazy. So, yeah, that's a fun series too. Blazers Nuggets. That's very fun.
The West playoffs. It's crazy.
All the teams are like really evenly matched, I would say.
I think if the Lakers or the Clippers win tonight, every series will be tied 2-2.
I think. Well, Memphis and Utah haven't played Game 4 yet, but yeah, you would be right. 2-2 in every series if they won. Yeah. Jokic, though. Can't even say I'm surprised, though, because
Yeah, well,
It's Jokic, MVP.
Do you want to go? Do your surprises,
Yeah.
Tobe?
I guess I'll start off with the East, and for I guess each conference, I chose two kind of younger players that to me have like really been starting to break out. First being Trae Young, and I hate
you.
on this guy. I do hate on this guy a lot for his flopping and some of his shenanigans. But you know, just statistically speaking, like the numbers that he's been putting up against the Knicks. Now the Knicks, I don't know, like I don't know how they're gonna guard him going into these next couple of games, but he's been embodying the villain role like as good as anybody I've seen. Just because like he's just so hateable. Like as a player, he's just so hateable when you watch him, and he loves it. He thrives in that environment, and that's something that I think he's gonna carry with him like his entire career. Pretty much is just thriving when people are just hating on him. I guess to move on to the West, a player that I don't think we would have mentioned, you know, if I didn't bring him up, would be Ja Morant. And just because he's on the Grizzlies, they're probably going to get bounced out in the first round. But, you know, just through his initial like first 4 games in the playoffs, he's already breaking records, at least points wise. And he's just, he's showing that he's going to become like a great leader for this team for the following years to come. So I expect them to make the playoffs in the next couple years, and Ja is really gonna, you know, he's gonna elevate them a lot. I feel like.
Well, I also said Ja Morant for
What?
one of my surprises. I mean, I feel like I was kind of surprised because Justin remembers when we were making predictions for our each playoff series in the first round last week. I thought Ja Morant would struggle against the Jazz because, I mean, he had a career performance against the Warriors in that play-in tournament when he hit 5 threes, but I didn't think he would be able to, that wasn't sustainable. And I thought, with a lot of his points coming at the rim, going up against the best rim protector in the NBA and Gobert, I thought he would have a really hard time. But I literally couldn't have been more wrong because, like you said, breaking records left and right for a 21-year-old point guard without a reliable jump shot, it's really nuts. He had a career high 47 points on 26 shots in game 2. And which is a Grizzlies playoff record and the most points scored in a playoff game by a player 21 or younger. And his 73 points in his first 2 games was the second most in NBA history, only behind George Mikan, which that guy played in 1949. I mean, like what he's doing is insane. And so, and like I mentioned, like I thought he would struggle getting to the rim and scoring at the rim against the Jazz. During the regular season, about 60% of his field goal attempts came within 10 feet of the basket, and he shot about 53% at the rim. In the playoffs, he's upped his average, or he's upped his percentage of shots at the rim, despite the fact that they have Gobert. So he's shooting about 62% of his shots at the rim, and he's scoring them at a 70% clip. Like what? He's somehow gotten more efficient against arguably the defensive player of the year, most likely. It doesn't make sense. He's like, yeah, he's insane. And if I don't even think he needs a jump shot because look at what he's doing now. But if he somehow becomes like average from 3, this guy is literally going to take over the NBA. But even then, like we've seen point guards that don't have reliable jumpers, like dominate the NBA. Like think of Russell Westbrook or Rondo or even like Tony Parker. Shout out Tony Parker to like a lesser extent.
No.
But like
Okay.
this is like what he's doing is insane. some of his his athleticism in the air, sometimes he literally looks like Jordan. Like he literally looks like Michael Jordan sometimes when he's going up for layups. It's really nuts.
It's like effortless.
He's got a great shot. It's not even a shot. It's literally just like probably like a 4 foot, he just, because of his athleticism, he's jumping so high. He'll be like at the rim and then he'll just put up a little floater from like 4 feet away, and it works every single time. It's a great go-to move. I love it.
His floater gang.
Floater gang.
It's so nice. It's really crazy. And he's 21 years old. Like, what the hell? Oh my gosh. It's really nuts. But
yeah, the fact that they even stole a game in Utah, or was it in Utah?
Yeah,
I think it was game two.
It was game one. Because they
Really?
Yeah, it was.
They didn't have Donovan Mitchell, but
Oh yeah.
Even so, like, I think for his first playoff game, like that's pretty incredible.
Yeah. But you also mentioned Trae Young as a surprise. My other surprise was also Atlanta Hawks related, but it wasn't necessarily about Trae Young. Their defense against Julius Randle. I know this is probably going to piss Justin off, but this is what they've been doing is really insane. Because in his 3 games during the regular season, Randle was literally insane against them. He averaged 38 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists. He shot 73% within 10 feet of the basket, about 63% on his pull-up twos, and 45% on his catch-and-shoot threes. And, outside of not having DeAndre Hunter in those games, Atlanta, they were pretty much fully healthy in those matchups. But in the playoffs, his numbers have dropped to 15 points a game, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists. He's shooting 31% at the rim, about 12% on his pull-up twos, and 27% on his catch-and-shoot threes. Like it's literally insane. The discrepancy that's happened. But basically all they're doing, and I read an article. It's funny because Tom Thibodeau used to be like an assistant coach for the Boston Celtics back in like the late 2000s. And they had a playoff series against the Cavs when LeBron was still there. And they essentially did exactly what they did to LeBron to Julius Randle. They're just keeping him out of the middle of the floor and forcing him baseline every time. Like, literally, if you watch whoever is defending Randle, they're always forcing him to the baseline. And then obviously at the rim is Clint Capella, who's one of the most active shot blockers in the NBA. And since the Knicks don't really have 3-point shooters, there's just not a lot of space on the floor for Randle to operate. Like they just did what they're doing against the Knicks is like perfect. Like they just and it's kind of sad to see people say Randle is like overrated and he's like, oh, this is what of a waste of a season. And it's just like, I feel like we're not giving enough credit to how good the Hawks defensive game plan has been, because it's really been, it's really more the Knicks roster is getting exposed than Randle, because like he just can't do anything against this. Like you literally have, there's no solution when you just don't have the teammates to help you out. That's what's happening.
It's funny because it's all facts. Like it's funny because it's all true. All right, hold on.
It's sad.
Obviously, I'm gonna have to talk about that, but I want to go back to Toby's point about Trae Young, how he was saying how he thrives as being hated. Toby, he's been dealing with that since like his first day of high school basketball. I remember seeing that guy on Ball Is Life for the first time and being like, who is this clown? I just hated him just based off of how he looked and how he played as like a high schooler. So he's been doing this. Like he's been playing through all the hate and all the, all that stuff. So I really like Trae Young. I really like him. But this series, obviously against the Knicks, I hate him. Hate him, hate him, hate
This is what
him.
happened, dude. This is what happens in the playoffs. You just
I'm gonna keep it, chill because we're on the full court report. But I could really go off on how much I hate Trae Young right now.
Oh, he's just
But,
one of those players. Like he's gonna get all the calls. He's just annoying.
Yeah. Well, I want to do my disappointments because obviously my disappointment is in the Knicks, specifically Julius Randle and Thibodeau. Julius Randle, this is my Julius Randle rant. If you are gonna be playing this well in the regular season and you're trying to break out into that, superstar status, trying to be, all-star every year, all NBA almost every year, that type of player, you can have a bad game. You can have a bad game, but you can't have a bad series. I get the whole Hawks defensive game plan is to slow him down. You can't let it happen. I said this in the group chat, and Jorie, you were like, "Oh yeah, just tell him you can't let him happen." Like, what's that gonna do? But like, Tibbs could also be making major adjustments. Tibbs has been horrible with rotations and subs, and just making any kind of adjustments. Last game, today, literally today, there were moments where RJ would be struggling, like just brick after brick, can't get anything going. And Tibbs would leave him out there to get through the struggles. And then once he gets in a groove, Tibbs is like, all right, we'll see you. We're taking you out. He's done that to multiple players consistently throughout the season. So it's just a whole ordeal. I got to give Atlanta their credit because what you said, Jorie, they really are playing the perfect defense against the Knicks. They're exposing our roster, the whole roster. But we can make adjustments. We can make the adjustments to beat these guys. They're not a good defensive team. Like you'd think otherwise based off this series, but they're not a good defensive team. I watched the games on MSG Network. Walt Clyde Frazier literally will say, Julius Randle, go to the rim. Gallo can't guard you. And then he'll go to the rim and put up, a 26% layup. Like, how are you shooting 20% on layups? The guy's been just terrible, not playing with any heart or anything. So, yeah, there's that about the Knicks. All that.
I don't know. I feel like I don't think Randall. I mean, I feel like there's like a limit on what Tom Thibodeau can do. Like he's there for defense, and he's always been a defensive minded coach. Like I don't know, it's just not. That's never been his strong suit. Is like game planning, offensive strategies. But I feel like all this does for what this means for like Randall is that like he can't be the number one option on your team. Like that can't be the number one guy. That's not to say he can't be an all-star, an all NBA player, but you need like someone to get you into your offense. Like you need a point guard or just someone that you could give the ball to and would be able to score like effortlessly in the playoffs. And that's not Randall. And that's not like, again, that's not like, that shouldn't be a knock on Randall, but I feel like that's just the reality of what
I
we have
completely
here.
agree with you. You, especially Jory, have been saying it all season. We need a closer. Julius Randle's really been a choke artist, but in the clutch. But you're right about that, him being a second option because he's a very good passer. Julius Randle's a great passer, and that's only it's only going to help him as the second guy because first guy's going, keep dishing it to him. I'll get my looks, but keep giving it to him. But I had two stinkers in the East for the playoffs. Jimmy Butler. Man didn't even put up 15 points per game, shot less than 30% from the field, and shot 27 from three. I don't really have anything to say about it except like, how are you gonna make it to the NBA Finals and then play like this in the first round the next year? Like,
yeah. I agree. Just the Heat in general was also one of my disappointments. But again, I kind of expected them to lose this series, but I didn't think they would be this bad.
Yeah, I certainly wasn't expecting them to get swept.
Yeah, no. Do you have any disappointments,
Well,
Kobe?
actually, Jimmy Butler was one of mine. So I'm not going to get too much into that. Obviously, we all know how he played in the bubble and how he was pretty much locked up this series. I guess just off the top of my head, I would say that the Nets losing Game 3. Because come on, you got to sweep the Celtics, especially when they're injured, and you can't let Jason Tatum go off for 50. That's not a good sign heading into a series where you have to face Giannis and then potentially face Embiid. You know, I feel like I said, if the Nets had Aldridge, it would be over. But I don't want to be. I don't want to continue to be disappointed by lack of like big man depth. So that's just a little thing I'll throw out there.
Could you say like in the Brooklyn Nets like defense, like inconsistently was a disappointment? Because I feel like some games they do look good, they look locked in, and then other games they're just like, the hell are you doing?
Game 1 and 2, we were locking up. We only held them to like an average of, I think, probably less than 100 points. And I think it really comes down to like Shaq says, the others, besides the big three, they gotta, go in there, get some buckets, and do their job. Big three, they've been going off. Like they're obviously gonna do their thing, but it comes down to the other guys actually locking up, and especially the big men. Like actually, Green just got injured, so he's going to be out for like 10 days. So that hurts us. So that means like players like Nick Claxton, Alize Johnson, those kind of players are going to have to step up for the Nets. So
yeah, I agree. I think I don't know. This is something this is probably stupid to say, but I feel like a winner of a Nets Bucks series has honestly the best shot of winning the finals.
Really?
I don't know. I just feel like whoever wins that series is probably.
I feel like you're like underestimating the Sixers.
I really don't think I am. I just don't believe in the Sixers.
The Sixers will beat the Bucks in a 7-game series if that happens. Telling you.
I don't know.
I just don't know why I don't believe in the Sixers.
No, it's not even that you don't believe in the Sixers. It's that you're such a Bucks nut rider. That's all it is.
No, definitely not. I don't know. Like, I just like what the Bucks do on both sides of the floor. The Sixers offense, I feel like, can be a little reliant on Embiid. Their 3-point shooting isn't really as good as people think it is. I feel like they have like Seth Curry and Dana Green. They have like capable 3-point shooters, but like they're not a really good 3-point shooting team. And in the playoffs, like that can be really essential. And I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like whoever wins that Nets Bucks series is probably going to come out the East.
I agree with you on that one, low-key, though.
I don't agree. I think the Sixers are going to lock up, like especially the Bucks, and they're going to make it hard for the Nets if that's a series. But first of all, you got Embiid on Giannis as a possible matchup, and then you got players like Thibault, obviously Ben Simmons, Defensive Player of the Year candidate, like Danny Green, like these. That's what scares me the most about the Sixers is like they got.
But that doesn't scare you about the Bucks. I mean, it's literally like the same thing.
I recognize that the Bucks also have a good defense, but just matchup wise, I think it favors the Nets a little bit better over the Bucks than the Sixers.
I feel like this is probably stupid. I don't think it would actually happen, but like there's a potential where if the Nets are like going small and they are playing like maybe Kevin Durant at the 5 or something, Embiid could get played off the floor. because he just can't keep up with all their guards and everything. Like that, I feel like that has the potential to happen to where it's like the Bucks, like Giannis at the 5 can hang with someone like Kevin Durant, whereas Embiid probably wouldn't be able to. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just like
That's
there's
actually a
just so
really
many
good point, Jorie.
things. Like there's just like so many little things that I feel like could potentially hinder the Sixers.
I don't know. Well, Toby, I want to hear what Toby has to say. Let's say the Nets do go small and play KD at the 5. Is that going to be good or bad for you guys playing the Sixers?
Because like
I
their starting
mean,
lineup is essentially Durant at the 5. Like
offensively, like yeah, if we do start KD at the 5 and like or like Blake Griffin at the 4 or the 5, offensively, yeah, it's gonna be like they're gonna have a really really hard time keeping up with us. But defensively, like I said, they just sometimes they just get exposed, and I gotta admit, even like Nick Claxton, sometimes like he's pretty like he's not really like strong yet. He's got a few more years to kind of get on the NBA level, but I just feel like Embiid will just be throwing weight around, getting every single rebound, kicking out to their shooters, and then whereas Giannis, for whatever reason, I just feel like they're gonna have an easier time defending him, getting boards over him. Throughout the regular season, they would just let Giannis shoot. They would give like, even though Giannis can make threes sometimes, they wouldn't even like consider him on the 3-point line and just let him shoot. So I think if they have a similar game plan like that, then I think it's going to be all good.
I don't know. I think whatever happens, it's Nets Bucks is probably going to be like the most entertaining series of the playoffs. Unless the Lakers somehow meet the Nets in the finals, like I feel like Nets Bucks is probably going to be like the best series this year. But my disappointment, we already talked about the Heat, but my disappointment has honestly been Michael Porter Jr.
I was thinking about saying
I
him
feel
too.
like because I said like I told Justin last week, like I expect this guy to really step up because that's what he did in the regular season during the, after Jamal got hurt. I just don't. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it's hard for him to. I feel like I'm kind of over criticizing him because it's not like he has like time to work on his game, but I feel like he hasn't been a much of like a shot creator himself. Like he still is very reliant on Jokic to get easy points and like coming off screens and things like that. Like I need him to freaking step up and be like an on ball, just freaking like what Kevin Durant is.
Well, I mean, that's a lot.
agree,
That's a
Jorie.
lot to ask.
No,
That's what
I agree. I agree with Jorie. I'm looking at it right now. He's only averaging 15 points per game this series. No, he's not shooting bad,
Yeah, he's still like efficient, but it's just like the way he's getting his points that I've seen is just like not good enough. And it's like everyone, when Jamal got hurt and he started balling out, everyone was like, wow, this might make Jamal Murray a freaking trade piece now because of how good MPJ is. I'm like this is ridiculous from the beginning. Like there's absolutely no way. Like, no. But maybe that's all he'll ever be, is just like a really good spot up shooter, off the ball scorer, which is fine. Like Klay Thompson became like a multiple time All-Star, being basically an off ball, spot up shooter. But I feel like if he wants to take his game to the next level, he's got to be more of a creator himself. But we'll see.
It's hard for him to be. It's not hard, but it's different for him to be a creator because he's a big ass dude. Like he's 6'10", but he's like he's built like not like a guard, but he's not like a big man. So like he can work on his handle, but he's so big. Like it's gonna be it's gonna be hard for him to be able to be dribbling and then just pull up and yank wherever he is. But I do agree, Jorie. 15 points per game is not going to cut it, especially how he was playing after Jamal Murray went out in the regular season. I didn't even know he was playing this bad. I'm a little disappointed in him myself too.
think next season, I think this offseason is going to be crucial for him because obviously Jamal is not going to be able to play most of the regular season, if any of the regular season. But because he's going to be recovering from an ACL.
Mhm.
But this offseason is going to be huge for Michael Porter Jr. And if it'll determine like his entire career trajectory. If he really puts in the work, he could become literally like just a glitch offensively.
Yeah.
If not, and he just stays the way he is, I mean, that's not a bad thing, but he could be. I feel like he could be a lot. He has a lot of untapped potential. I would say,
Mhm.
as
I
good
agree
as
with
he
that.
has been as a younging thus far in his career. But yeah, that's about it. That's all I have to say, really.
The Nets are up at half.
Yeah, I think Nets in 5.
Yeah. Kyrie's got 23.
The sooner we get to this
Kyrie's gonna
Nets
have
Bucks
50, guarantee it.
Okay.
the sooner we get to this Nets Bucks series, the better.
Only a couple more games, baby.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so lit, dude.
Well,
all right,
you guys gotta wait until the rest of the first round finishes.
I'll tell you exactly what's gonna happen. Nets win the first 2 games at home, right? They lose game 3 away. They win game 4 away. They lose game 5 at home. And then they win game 6.
What?
away. No, I'm telling you. No, I'm telling you, like, this is gonna happen. Like,
Okay. All right.
like I already know that it's gonna happen. So
Nah,
Interesting.
nah. That's not what's happening, Toby. It's gonna be like this. It's gonna be like the Lakers Suns series. Each team is gonna win one game at each place, and then it's just gonna be whoever's playing at home is gonna win 5, 6, and 7.
I mean, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it'll be a fun series. But yeah, that's it. Good episode. You guys got anything else you want to say before we sign off?
I don't think so.
I do have something to say about Trae Young, but I can't. I don't think I can say it on YouTube.
Yeah, let's. Yeah. Oh God. Well, we all know how Justin feels about that guy. Then.
No. I don't even hate Trae Young. I actually really like Trae Young. It's just this series playing the Knicks. I can't stand him. I cannot stand him.
That's what the playoffs will do to you, man. Yeah. All right. Well.
That's all I got.
Yeah, that's about it. Until next time. Thanks for listening.
Knicks in 7.
All right. Peace out. From myself, Jorie Mickens, and my 2 co-hosts, Justin Sadovi and Chris Tobias, thank you so much for listening to that episode of the Fullcourt Report NBA show. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at FullCReport, on Instagram at the.fullcourt.report. Like and comment on this video and subscribe so you never miss a minute of action.